I'm excited to come before you today. Why am I sitting in the car? I'm sitting in the car because this is Crime Prevention Week. And every week at the Cross, we are bringing you great information on how to conduct yourself no matter what's going on. And so we've already talked about, and I would encourage you to go back and watch on our Facebook page or download the Cross app so that you can train your children, you can train others, share this information about how to carry yourselves with the legal system. We've talked about gun safety. We've talked about navigating the justice system with attorney Mary King. And so today it is my privilege to introduce to you an awesome officer. He works in the community with the youth, Officer Philip Hawkins. And so I just want to thank him for coming out today. And what he's going to be doing, he's not arresting me. I just want to let that is plain. I am clear, right? But what we're going to be doing is talking about when we are stopped. How do we handle ourselves? And again, we want to make sure that the church gives the proper information, not the things that you see many times on social media or that are urban legends, but to know exactly the truth from an officer who works for the city. This is how you conduct yourself. This is what they expect us to do. And so I want you to use this as a training tool for your kids, for yourself, for those that you know, so that we can spread the truth. Remember, at the Cross, we are here to be producers of truthful information. And so I am so glad that you have tuned in. And for the next 45 minutes or so, we're going to walk through everything you need to know about being stopped by the officer. Okay, so I'm the guinea pig today with Officer Hawkins. All right, and so he's gonna walk through. He's gonna walk through, and we'll be having this conversation. Okay, all right. So officer. Now, for some reason, I've been pulled over. All right. And if you can just talk to everybody about, okay, why would you pull me over? And just kind of generally speaking, because many times we think that, everybody thinks that the officers are just picking on us, right? Oh, they pull me over for no reason. And many times, that's when we get upset, right? You pull me over for no reason, or I'm not aware of why I got pulled over. So do you all just randomly pull people over for nothing? If you can answer that, and if it's legitimate, then let's take it from there. Then what is you all's mindset, and what should we be doing when we are pulled over, and when can we pull over? I know that was a lot.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. I'm Officer Hawkins, Houston Police Department. Been on the police department for 11 years. I'm going to walk you through a traffic stop. All right, so when you're pulled over, you most likely either been pulled over for a traffic violation, like not using the signal when changing lanes, running a stop sign, running a red light, things of that nature. When you're pulled over, I would suggest, if it's during the day, you don't have to worry about being in a well-lit area like at night. But during the day, just find a safe place to pull over. Never pull over to the median. Always pull over on the side, preferably the right side of the curb. Make sure if you want to, to let the officer know that, if you're not able to pull over right away, you can put on your hazard lights, to let them know that, hey, I acknowledge, that you're behind me, and I'm finding a safe place to pull over. So once you're pulled over, the officer, he's going to approach your car.
Okay.
He's going to introduce himself as an officer, and he's going to tell you the reason why you were pulled over. And after that, you know, you can, once you're in the car, you have your hands visible.
Okay.
Usually, you know, you can keep them on the steering wheel. I tell just, you know, if you don't have them on the steering wheel, I usually tell people, you know, just place your hands on the steering wheel and, you know, you wait for the officer's instructions. The next instructions are going to be to give a driver's license and financial responsibility. Financial responsibility, that's going to be your proof of insurance.
Now, let me stop you right there, officer, because many times, you know, we'll see on television people with their windows up. I don't answer questions. Or they're sliding out, you know, some information or putting it on the window. Number one, what is our responsibility when we respond that way? Can we respond that way? And then number two, well, I'll answer this after you do that. So if you're asking for our ID and financial responsibility, oh, this is number two. What can you all tell that we have or don't have? So do you already know that we don't have insurance on this particular car? Can you look that up where you are, or do we need to give you a physical piece of paper? If you could answer those.
Well, yes. Basically, when we perform a traffic stop, you're going to put in our stop location and put in your license plate. Your license plate is based on your registration. If you gave the registration place the state of Texas, your information, they should have inputted that into the computer. Now, sometimes your registration, during the registration time, your insurance may be about to go out that month. So you also that's why we ask for proof of it, because sometimes it shows it's not been updated in the system, and it shows to be expired, and that's why we ask for it. Because sometimes the computer system and in real time it's totally different.
Okay, all right. So what about when you're talking about you see on social media many times people will have their window up and they're sliding stuff out the window because they don't want to let the window down. How do you all respond to that, or what is our responsibility? Do we have to let the window all the way down? Are there any rules to that?
Well, usually, I mean, we want you to roll the window down, but the most important thing is to make sure you make contact. You make contact with the officer. If you want to keep your window halfway raised and just slip it out the window, that's fine. But you have to remember, if you don't have a driver's license, an officer can ask you to step out because you're going to be legally detained, because we have to find out who you are. If you're a wanted person, if you don't, if you don't have your valid driver's license on you.
If you don't have, what happens if we don't have our license on us, but we do know our driver's license number?
That's on the discretion of the officer.
Okay.
Usually most officers are going to ask you to, they may not detain you, but they'll ask you to step to the back of the vehicle.
Okay.
Or they'll ask you from right here, you're in a safe place, just to write your name down, date of birth, and we can look it up from there. And some people, if they know the driver's license number, we'll just ask for that, and we'll get that, and hopefully, you won't come back with a warrant.
When many times we see on social media, see, I still have my hands on the steering wheel, right? But we'll see on social media that, when things start to escalate, when you say, okay, step out the car, or you ask, may I look through your car? Do you have anything in here that we need to know about? Any, weapons, illegal things? If I say no, you can't look through my car, which is my right, what happens at that particular point?
Yes, well, an officer, they can ask, to look through your car, but under the Fourth Amendment, you have the right to say no.
Okay.
All right? Because you have the right to remain, you have the right for privacy.
Yeah.
Okay? So you don't have, unless you're subject to arrest, unless you have warrants or the officers, getting you out the car for some other reason where it's incident to arrest, then we have to have some kind of probable cause in order to search your car.
Okay.
Like, say if someone was, driving under influence and we smell alcohol substance, or, somebody, smoking, marijuana, which I don't have to worry about since I'm at the church.
Yeah.
But, like if it's those things, then that's called probable cause, where we have reason to believe that there's something illegal inside the car, where we have a reason to detain you and pull you out and search the vehicle.
Now, once you say, okay, I think it's some probable cause here, and you ask us to step out. Again, this is you, and again, I keep referring back to social media because I think that, many times, on social media we can see the worst of everything,
Yes.
and so I want people to know that everything you see on social media in interaction, it's twofold. It goes both ways. And again, if you're watching this, I'm Pastor Hayes with Crosspoint Church, and I'm with Officer Philip Hawkins, and he is walking us through, during Crime Prevention Month, how to conduct yourself during a traffic stop. And so, man, we are so appreciative of you, really talking to us about, the right thing to do and explaining why. So a lot of times, things start to really escalate as the general public sees it once you tell somebody, okay, get out the car, okay? Or you're asking us to get out the car for whatever the reason is, and the person is refusing to get out the car. Or if they get out, then, you put them in handcuffs instead of telling them, to just sit over here or to stand by the car. So, can you walk us through that thinking, why you make one decision, generally speaking, or another decision?
Yeah. Well, usually, like through your conversation with the officer, you can tell what kind of mood that the officer is. They're human, we have feelings.
Yeah.
So just, I would, just try to comply.
Okay.
But, for the most part, we're trying to keep each other safe.
Yeah.
We want you to go home safe to your family, and we have families to go home safe too.
Sure.
So if an officer asks you to get out your car, and, you start refusing, the officer usually is going to tell you, give you a warning why he's getting, like pulling you out the car.
Okay.
Especially if you have a warrant or anything like that, or if you're in a vehicle where it's believed to be stolen or something like that. The officer may not tell you that, but he's going to say, hey, I need you to step out the car. All right? You have to understand, from that point, it's going to be up to the officer, because we have the right to actually physically remove you from the vehicle at that time if you're not complying, and we have probable cause to make an arrest.
Okay. All right. So so my understanding is that it's up to your discretion whether you handcuff the person, whether you just tell them to stand or to sit, on the curb while you do finish your investigation.
Yes, unless we're detaining you because we don't know, you don't have a driver's license.
Okay.
We can, we can detain you, like as far as putting you in handcuffs, and or you have warrants, and we're trying to verify the warrants. So you most likely will be handcuffed during those times.
Okay.
Yeah. At other times, if we're trying to verify, who the car belongs to, and you don't have any identification, yes, the officer can ask you to sit on the curb or stand at the hood of the vehicle, or turn the ignition off, things like that.
Okay. All right. So we're going with, now we're going to take the scenario and it's going to go, start going a little left. So, all right, I've been pulled over and, I have my hands on the steering wheel. And, I remember years ago that many times people, just instinctively get pulled over. And the first thing they want to do before the cop, the officer gets out of the car, they want to step out of the car and walk to the officer's car and say, okay, what did I do? Many times innocently. How do you all look at that now?
Well, first of all, like anytime somebody's approaching your car after you pull them over in a traffic stop, you assume threat.
Okay.
So
that looks like a threat.
That looks like a threat.
Okay.
Because you don't know if that person is going to display a weapon or just try to come up in your face and attack you because they're upset that you pulled them over.
Yeah. So we need to stay. You're saying you recommend stay in your car.
Yeah, stay in your car.
Okay. Now, if a person is saying, okay, all right, you pulled me over, you got my ID, now you're telling me to get out, and I feel that, the officer is being a little aggressive or whatever the case may be, and you see everybody filming everybody these days.
Yeah.
So, how do you all respond to that? What do you think about that? Because, my concern is, talking to, the young folks and other people that I want to film, right? I want to cut my recorder on my phone, but now you're standing here and I got to reach for it, right?
Yeah.
And start recording. And so, which may look threatening. How do you all view that, being recorded?
Well, it's your legal right to record.
Okay.
It's not illegal to record a transaction with the police.
Okay.
So if somebody tells you to stop recording, you say, hey, I have my legal right to record.
Okay.
Just know that, hey, if you're standing in the street or if you're not involved in the traffic stop, you have to go to a safe distance.
Okay.
To make sure that the officer is not feeling threatened during this traffic stop, because sometimes he may have his back turned to you.
Okay.
If you're inside the vehicle and you want to record, I suggest starting the recording before the officer approaches your vehicle.
Okay.
So you won't have to make too many sudden movements or anything like that.
Okay. And with that, should a person hold it? So if I have a phone and I'm holding it, should I hold it while I'm looking, or should I mount it somewhere, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter as long as you can record it safely. But you gotta be mindful. You may need to reach for things. So if you have it mounted, that's good.
Okay.
Because you're gonna need to reach for your driver's license or your insurance.
Okay.
But also, I forgot to mention, once the officer approaches your vehicle, like we're in Texas, everybody has a gun. I would most likely let the officer know, hey, if I have a weapon in the vehicle, and if you have a license to carry.
Okay. All right. And so if I have a weapon in the car, but I don't have a license to carry, is that a problem?
No, it's not illegal in the state of Texas.
Okay.
As long as it's not in plain view.
Okay.
Being that, plain view is just, if you're walking up and I can see it physically,
okay.
And
that's a problem.
That's a problem. But if you have it, hidden in a compartment somewhere inside your car, no. Your car is the extension of your home. It's called the Castle Law.
Okay. All right. We talked about that in one of our previous crime prevention weeks, and gun safety. So go back and look at that, and it talks about the Castle Doctrine. All right. So I'm pulled over. I have my hands here. Now, what should I do and what should I not do? If you're asking, for my ID, you're asking my wallet, many times we feel as though, we have to say, okay, I'm reaching for my wallet. I have to reach in my glove compartment, and it's that feeling that you have to talk like that, when we move, instead of saying, oh, okay, or hold on, and it seems that that gets people in trouble, or it heightens the situation. So how do you recommend us, or generally speaking, to handle that situation when you're asking for information? Should we have it ahead of time, or how do you feel about that?
Well, it's always good to have your driver's license and insurance on hand.
Okay.
If you can have it ahead of time, because if you're getting a traffic stop, so it's usually that's what the officer is going to ask first.
Okay. All
but
right.
if you don't have time, if I know sometimes you're in shock, you're in a state of like panic, so you're not thinking to get your driver's license out. So I would just make sure I will verbalize everything I'm going to do, every step I'm going to take. Say, officer, hey, I got to reach for my wallet. Officer, I have to reach in my glove box to get my insurance.
Okay.
Or officer, my insurance is on my phone. Can I get it?
Okay.
Yes, all those things are fine.
Okay. All right. Good. That's some great information. How do, and this is one of, because we have kids, and I know many people who are watching right now have kids, and I think one of the things that make our heart sink is when one of our children are driving and they get stopped, by an officer. And, what should they do? What can they do, and what can they not do? If they're driving my car, one of our children, they're driving, they get pulled over by you. Walk us through that, because I think that's a lot of angst that parents have and fear that one of our sons or one of our daughters at night sometime or wherever, some strange place, gets pulled over by an officer, and it's not their car, it's our car as a parent.
Okay, as far as it goes to kids or young adults driving their parents' cars, hey, if you have a cell phone, you can also record.
Okay.
Sometimes I suggest if you don't feel comfortable, get your parents on the phone. Put them on speakerphone as you're getting a traffic stop.
Okay.
And my pet peeve is kids trying to argue. Saying, hey, officer, I didn't do this. Officer, I didn't do it. At the end of the day, it's the officer's discretion to give you a ticket or a warning.
Okay.
So usually if you argue, you're going to get a ticket. I would say, hey, save the argument for court. That's what that's for.
Okay.
Okay. And just make sure you just comply and just be respectful. Usually if you're respectful to the officer, it's going to go like a breeze, and most times you may be let off with a warning.
Okay. All right. Good. Another question. I know we have a couple of questions that are coming in that we definitely want you to address. And one of the questions that has come in is we see on social media. They say we see on social media people calling like the supervisor. They'll keep the window up and they don't think they're being treated fair by the officer. So they'll say, call the white shirt or call your supervisor. What is our right in that regard? Who are there actually supervisors driving around and that are available if we feel uncomfortable? Could you explain that to everyone?
Well, yes, you always has a right to have a supervisor on your scene if you request one. All you have to do is request one. We have supervisors always on duty. If you don't like the way officer is talking to you, or
okay,
if you feel that the traffic stop is not going good, you can say, hey, I want to I'm requesting a supervisor. I don't want to talk to you anymore. And once you identified yourself, then the officer he needs to comply. If he's not complying, then you can find out, hey, what's the nearest police station, and you can file a complaint that way.
Okay, all right. And so when do we have that, and here's another one. So when do you have that option to call the supervisor? Is it when you're in handcuffs? Is it when you first get stopped? And if you're just tuning in, I'm Pastor Hayes with the Cross, and we're with Officer Hawkins with Houston Police Department, and he is walking us through understanding how to address a stop by an officer in your vehicle. And so he has been giving great information. My hope is if you're just coming in, make sure you rewind, go back and take a look at it. And again, we're going to memorialize this on our site. So you'll always be able to go back and share with your children and you know, review it yourself so you know exactly what to do and what not to do. It's kind of like a training video, okay? So we appreciate you tuning in, and we're so thankful for you. Thank you for the questions that you're sending in, and we're going to try to address many of those same questions. So as I was saying, that another question is, when do we have that right? And I know you said at any time, but do we stay in the car until the supervisor gets there because we say, I feel uncomfortable? Or when we're out, standing outside of the car, maybe in handcuffs, or maybe just standing there while, you know, license plates are being run, when can we ask for the supervisor? And what should we expect with that?
When you all stop and whatever time you want to ask for a supervisor, you can.
Okay, all right.
So
Anytime.
Okay,
all right, good.
So the thing is that what you need to expect is that a supervisor cannot change an officer's mind.
Okay.
Like if the officer is going to write you a ticket,
yes,
the supervisor cannot stop that. That's illegal. All right.
What is the supervisor's job at that point? So, and does everything stop once I ask for a supervisor? So you're saying get out the car, and I'm saying I want a supervisor. Does everything stop where I just stay in the car and you go back in your patrol car till the supervisor gets there, or does this transaction continue until he gets there?
Yes, it depends on the situation.
Okay.
If the officer's asking you to get out the car and he's telling you, hey, you possibly have a warrant.
Okay.
Then the officer, he's probably not going to disengage.
Okay.
I mean, like even if you ask for a supervisor, he can radio for a supervisor, and while the supervisor is en route, he's probably going to keep continuing to ask you to get out the car.
Okay.
So just be aware of that, and just try to stay calm, because usually the reaction you give is going to be the reaction you receive, but you have to know that officers are trained, and we're supposed to remain professional at all times.
Okay.
So if the officer is giving you, curse words, things like that, calling you out your name, telling you to get out the car, then, that's something else you can bring up with the supervisor once they get on scene.
Okay. All right. All right. We only have a couple more minutes to go. And here's another question that folks want to know is, okay, so we've called the supervisors come assess the situation. The other question is this, that why many times they want to know why so many cops have to pull up at a stop. So it seems as though, people get pulled over. And again, this individual's perception that you see all these cops pulling up for one man or for one person, and maybe it was some arguing going up, but all of a sudden 5, 6, 7 cops, pull up on them. On why does that tend to be as they feel the situation?
Well, usually that's based on the person's demeanor.
Okay.
usually if, like if we know that if the person's being aggressive or, he's just not complying, we can ask for backup, because normally you'll see an officer riding by himself. So we want to be safe at all times.
Okay.
So we want you to be safe. So we'll ask for backup, just in case things, go bad, or, we're hoping like they don't, but that's why you see multiple officers come up, or usually as, the car, like I said earlier, if the car is stolen, or it's, if we find out it's a wanted person driving the vehicle.
Okay, all right, well, fantastic. Last question, and then we're done. And again, we appreciate you, officer, and we appreciate you sharing with us. Last question is the taser, right? That, riding the white lightning. Everybody's like, they had to pull out the taser, and when is that appropriate, generally speaking? And why does it seem that people, I guess in social media, you see them pulling out their guns before they pull out the taser, right? You on the traffic stop. So basically, they're saying on social media many times when it's been filmed, officers, more readily go for their guns than the non-lethal taser.
Well, in terms of that, you got to know that all different police departments, they have different use of force policies.
Okay, everybody has
different policies.
Okay.
So, it's usually based on the officer's perception. If they think it's going to be a threat, then most likely you're going to go for their gun.
Okay.
But most times the taser is involved usually when we've got a combative suspect,
okay,
or somebody that's trying to fight or just trying to resist.
Okay. All right. No problem at all. Okay. All right. So as we end, what, Officer Hawkins, again, we appreciate you for taking your time. What is it that you would like to say to everybody that we need to know? Maybe we didn't cover, or maybe it's just some great advice that we can share, with everybody right now before we end.
Just know that most officers, we're out there, we're trying to help the community. Of course, we can't do it without you. It's about being, building a relationship. And most of the time, you're going to have the same officer work in your area. Just know that if you get stopped by an officer, don't assume the worst. Just know that we're out there, we're trying to protect the public, and that we're here to serve you.
I think those are wise words, and again, we thank Officer Hawkins for spending his time to come out and to really share on this beautiful day. Our prayer at the cross, and both of our prayers are that you would be safe, that you would not have a problem. Again, almost every officer I have ever run into has been a great professional officer, and females and males. And so, and different levels, from state troopers to the county, to the city, to even the school district. And so many of them are friends of mine, and many of them are classmates. And so I think it's very, very important as parents, as those who are active in the community, make sure that you don't scare your kids and say things like, if you keep acting up, I'm going to call that officer to come over here and arrest you, or, to put you in hand. Just scaring and providing a bad taste in the mouth of our youth. It's our job to help build those bonds. So parents, adults, let's be responsible. Again, There's some people in every area that are bad apples, right? But our job is to encourage great officers like Officer Hawkins, who's a good apple, right? And not a bad apple. So we want to make sure we expose the bad apples and keep the good apples. So we got to back the good apples, right? And so we have plenty of them in our community. And so I would encourage you, consider law enforcement as a career. Let's encourage our kids to go into law enforcement, into the legal system, so that we can help keep it vibrant and healthy. All right? Well, again, this is Pastor Hayes with Officer Hawkins. Thank you again. Be safe out there. And remember, keep loving big. God bless you. We'll talk real soon.